What's up guys, Everything Apple Pro here. Another year, another comparison between every single iPhone model ever made. This time around, we've got a new arrival. Say hello to the iPhone SE. It's the embodiment of the iPhone 6s in the flesh of an iPhone 5s. I want to see how it compares to the rest of the iPhone lineup. It's really crazy to think it's been almost 10 years already.
The second is a revolutionary mobile phone.
And the goal of this video is really just to put things into perspective, because it's been almost 10 years. What has Apple accomplished with their iPhone lineup? I want to see going from the original iPhone 2G, by the way, there's no iPhone 1, I get that question all the time, going up all the way to the iPhone 6s and SE. Where do we stand now, and how far have we come? So I love making these tests. They get harder and harder every single year, but this is the 2016 edition with the new iPhone SE and the new iOS 9.3.1 update that supposedly speeds up older phones. So here's the iPhone 2G. It's hard to believe that when this thing released, it got a lot of negative press. It was the future, but it just wasn't fully cooked yet. It was slow, it was buggy, and really Apple's made a lot of progress whether or not you see it from year to year. So let's go ahead and jump into this. We've got every iPhone lined up here, and this is based on their release schedule, not by size. It would be a mess then. But we're going to start with a startup test. Now for a more even power on, I connected these all to a 13 USB port hub. So let's go ahead and start this up in 3, 2, 1. And they're all off. So it's not 100% accurate, done to the millisecond, but this is the most accurate that I can get it. And these are all arranged again by the date of release, not by the size, by the coloring. I try to get every white iPhone just for evenness. But the iPhone SE was the first to boot, followed by the 6s and 6s Plus. These are all running the same processor, by the way. Then the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. So I'm pretty happy. The SE, it's a little diamond there. Next comes the 5s, and we're gonna have to wait a little bit in between. But finally, as a follow-up, it's a little bit unexpected, but the iPhone 2G does come next, then the iPhone 3GS, then the iPhone 5C, iPhone 5, and then the iPhone 4, and finally the iPhone 3G. So who comes last? Well, the iPhone 4S running iOS 9. Everybody always tells me they regret updating to iOS 9 on this phone in particular, and it's certainly shown here that it is the slowest phone out of all 13 currently existing. So next, let's do something a little bit more measurable to see the speed. And that's a Geekbench. We're going to go ahead and see how these all compare on the Geekbench score. The iPhone 2G and 3G, it doesn't run on them anymore, so I had to dig up a really old one. But here are the results with the iPhone SE in first place. Next up, here's a Wi-Fi speed test about 10 feet from my router. Of course, this is heavily dependent on my Wi-Fi speeds, but you could definitely tell that as the generations go on, the limitations of the Wi-Fi were removed, and they're faster, the range is better. In general, it just gets better as time goes on. And then I tested Safari. We use it a lot. HTML compatibility is very important, and the scores, of course, are all the same on the iOS 9 running devices. The older it gets, the worse the score. Then I did a synchronized test loading reddit.com. As you can see, the speeds are fairly, dependent on how fast the phone is. The newer it is, the better it does. Of course, they have newer Java engines and all that, but, it did fairly good. The older the device, clearly very, very unusable, and the iPhone 3G was never even able to load it in the end. Next, I tested loading the camera app, and as you can see, basically the iPhone 5 and above almost loaded them all at the same time, with a couple milliseconds in between. It's the older phones that you have the few second delay, which would pretty much miss a very important camera shot. So far, we can basically see that the older the device gets, the slower it is, but it's not always been like that. Sometimes you shouldn't update right away when a new software update drops, just because it may slow things down that loaded fast beforehand, and I see that a lot as I work with iPhones every day. But anyways, next let's test the speaker output. So speakers are very important to me. I don't like to lug around a huge Bluetooth speaker. I went ahead and tested with a decibel meter about an inch away, and I'm very happy to report that the newer phones do very, very good with speakers. Not only are they louder, they're more clear, a little bit better bass response, but still, you can't compare them to a portable speaker, but still good. Next, I did check the heat signature after about 10 minutes of duress. So I loaded some benchmarks, GFX bench on the devices that could run it, Antutu on the others that couldn't. Then I measured the temperature of these phones on their hottest point, and what I found was pretty surprising. The newer the phone gets, the hotter it gets. Maybe it's because the battery is larger or there are more pixels to push nowadays, who knows, but newer phones do run hotter. So next, the cameras. iPhones in general have had pretty slow progression between cameras, but starting with the iPhone 2G with a 2 megapixel shooter, going to the iPhone 3G and so on, we can certainly start to tell that there is a difference, but putting them side by side is where you can really see how far things have gone. Now, what I've noticed is the newer phones pretty much have better vibrance. The color hue is, a little bit more saturated. It captures the colors a little bit better, and these pictures are taken in direct sunlight. So the iPhone 2G is completely washed out, whereas the newer 12 megapixel on the iPhone 6s captures the quality and color certainly a lot better. Now, this is the iPhone 2G. Putting it right next to an iPhone 6s, this is where we can see the most dramatic shift. It's like HD vision right here. Really, really great stuff. So 9 years is what it took to get here. And guys, there it is. That is my comparison of every iPhone Apple has produced so far in 2016. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was certainly not easy to make. I really would appreciate a like. If you could subscribe if you want to see this next year, or later this year. I'm going to be making one with the iPhone 7 again. But anyways, I do hope you enjoyed this, seeing, the progress Apple has made. Have a great day, guys. Peace.